Chris, will the captain return on Thursday?
Yeah, he will. Yeah, he's in really good shape, and he'll be one of a few that we'll bring back into the team. The bye kind of came at a good time for us, I guess, but really the 3 or 4 that we're looking at coming back in probably could have played last week anyway, so that extra little bit of time makes it more certain.
Duncan and Holmes?
Yeah, Duncan, Holmes, Bowes, yeah, Stanley, they're all looking like being available. Yeah, we'll just have to think a little bit about Reece, given the amount that he's missed and the opportunity that it presents to play, maybe 2 ruckmen. We haven't played Segler and Stanley together for a long time, but again, that's a little more complicated for us given that Reece has missed a bit of footy. So not as certain on that setup as we are with the Duncan, Dangerfield, Holmes, Bowes situation.
Only worth 4 points, I know, but this seems like a big home and away game, and maybe the outside world will get a good feel for how well the Cats are going after Thursday.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and hopefully it's positive. I take it as a compliment that it's a big game because Port are clearly going really well, won a lot of games in a row, and playing at home, and it's only a big game if the opposition put up a good fight in that situation. So we're confident that we can at the very least do that. We think we're in, we're closing in on as good a shape as we've been in all year, certainly in terms of personnel, but those guys coming back have done a lot of work as well. So they're not just available to play, they're available to play well. So yeah, we feel like we're up for the challenge. It is a challenge, there's no shying away from that. We respect how good they can be, but yeah, I concur. Big game, hopefully, 2 good teams going at it.
You sort of mentioned it before, the difficulty of bringing guys back in. You have spoken about it in past weeks. How tough is it when you've got 4 or 5 guys potentially on the way back, and you obviously have to drop 4 or 5 guys to fit them in, and then you're changing a quarter of your side to do that?
Yeah, it's always different, and this one has been a situation where we've had guys training with the team for a long period of time. I think when you have a group of players who have been out with an injury that's precluded them from team training, that can lead to lack of cohesion, and you've got to think hard about it. Or you get a group of players coming back into one particular part of the ground. The guys we're bringing back are a little bit more spread across the ground, and we've been thinking about how we reintroduce them over the past month. So I think we're more confident that this will be more seamless than other situations.
Yeah, how close was Patrick to playing before the bye? You were talking a lot about him playing before the bye.
Yeah. I mean, there's always differences of opinion, and there's available to play, and then there's an extra layer which is mitigating risk and also whether the player's done enough work to come in and play at his best. And when you factored in all those things, I mean, my take is that he could have played. I still stand by that now, and I really only bring that up as a way of explaining how confident we are that he can come in and play 2 weeks later in this game. So, and also we have a history that I think we've been quite transparent on, that with those types of players around those age brackets, we tend to be a bit more conservative towards the end of their rehab.
So Reece is right to play by the sounds of that. You're sort of debating whether he comes back in, or does he still have to prove anything to you guys?
No, he proved it. He's proved it over the last couple of weeks on the training track. So it's an unusual injury and situation. A big part of it really was sort of him having the confidence that his vision was going to be okay. You can imagine a really strange feeling and sensation for him, but the last couple of weeks have been good, and he's available to play this week, which is exciting.
Will we see a second mask on the field after another facial injury, or is he going to
Well, no, but the good news is with his facial injury that's well and truly healed, so there's no issue with contact there. It was more a vision thing, so unless we plan on putting the goggles on, which I don't think we're going to do, he'll be right.
Port's obviously been in firing form. What have you seen from them in the past, 10 weeks, just about? What do you have to stop? yourself with?
A range of things. I think, interestingly, both teams this week have scored really heavily throughout the season, ranked really high for points for. So you would expect, based on that recent history, that both teams will get their chances in attack, and that's been the pattern of their games a little bit, that they can score really, really heavily and almost seem to back themselves that if they get scored against a little bit, they'll just be too good on the other side of the ball. And it sort of fits with their young midfield group too there, that they are attacking, exciting players who we really respect, but we're pleased to get something like our A-grade contingent back. We think we're well placed to, more than break even with those guys through the midfield. So then it becomes a matter of who can use the ball effectively going forward, because again, both teams have some pretty talented players ahead of the ball.
You've won 3 of your last 4 against Port in Adelaide. A couple of them are sort of classics that probably could have gone either way, but is there anything you think you do well there that has sort of performed over the last few years? Or?
I think overall the ground is not something that worries us too much. It's a great surface. The shape of the ground's, it's not the same as Geelong, but it's more similar than some other grounds. I think we have a group of players that relish the occasion too. It's Thursday night, there'll be a big partisan crowd there. I think the competitors like that environment. And again, I say this a lot, but the good rivalries, in my opinion, are less about ancient history and more about recent form. And if Port have been a good team, over the last 4 or 5 years, and so have we. So that tends to lead to good battles. But no, I'd love to be able to tell you that we've got the secret and we know exactly how to beat them, and we'll just roll that out this week. But it's not that simple, and they are a good team and they have improved. But I think we're improving as well. It was only one game, but last week our last game was a really good sign for us, and we've been optimistic that we will get better as the year goes on. And last week hopefully was the start of it, and good chance against the hottest team in the comp this week.
Obviously, the bye probably helps him. Do you have any clearer picture when Asaba will be back after that hamstring now a couple of weeks removed from it?
No, not exactly. As I often say, until it gets down to the last kind of week and a half, 2 weeks, I tend not to get too into the weeds on those. But yeah, he'll be a matter of weeks. It's certainly not going to be months.
Just because of the win-loss, Chris, does it almost need to be go time now for you? You haven't left yourself too much wriggle room for, tinkering or potentially resting players late in the year. Do you need to make your run sort of from now?
There's no good way to answer this. And if I can throw up a hypothetical for you, if you're on top of the ladder, you start thinking about how you haven't got too much room because you might slip to third and possibly give up a home final. If you're third or fourth, you might be thinking, we haven't got that much room because otherwise we might slip out of the 4. Like, it's very, very rare that teams up the top, and we've been there before, you start thinking, we've just got the luxury that we can just sit on our heels a little bit and wait until the real stuff before we really get going. And so I don't think our mindset is much different to what it was this time last year. We just want to work on playing our best footy, and I completely get that after every week there's kind of an analysis to update the season. What does this mean for different teams? But we're just not in that world. We're really confident that our best footy is going to be good enough, so that's the first part. Be a good time to start now. It was a good time to start last week as well, but I get we're probably going to face those questions, for the rest of the season, unless we win 10 in a row, which is possible.
On that, are you still eyeing the top 4?
Yeah, I just don't think that way. But I certainly don't rule it out. But it's just a mistake for us to be sitting here going into round 14 thinking, we have to win this one because this is what I mean in the context of the season. We just want to win the next game. And I know it's the cliche to end all cliches, that one, I understand. But look, I'll play the game a little bit. the scenario has changed a little bit over the last few years. It's probably longer than that now, isn't it? When did the pre-finals bye come in? Was that 16? 16 with the Bulldogs, was it? Yes, it's Richmond. Anyway, whatever it is, my footy history is not that good. I tend to look forward. But I think I said this last year as well. So what are you trying to do? Are you trying to be the team that's gradually tapering off as the season goes on but sneak into the top four, or the team that goes into the finals hot? I'd rather be the latter and finish anywhere in there.
It's been a bit topical the last couple of weeks because of O'Shea Knight and Margaret Connor's 100th this week. Now, you sort of spoke about it a little bit. Do we underrate how much of an achievement it is for a guy to come in, pick up a completely different ball and play 100 games? I think only 5 Irish guys have done it before him.
Yeah, maybe we do. I think it's a remarkable effort. And it does reflect the fact that those guys are the cream of the crop from Ireland. Mark was very young when he came out, but he's already a really well-established Gaelic player. But even if you take out the footy side and the fact that it is a different game, Zach Tui, Mark O'Connor, even O'Sheen in the early stages, their ability to come to the other side of the world and not only kind of fit in with what we're trying to do at a professional elite level, but have an influence. Like Mark O'Connor is a leader in our footy team, and he was that after 50 games, much less 100. So I'm just full of admiration for what he's done. And I shouldn't say this because it sounds like I'm comparing him to other underage interviews that I've been involved with, but as an 18-year-old, he was the most together young person I've ever spoken to in an interview situation, and he's just improved since then. So we had high hopes early. And I will say again, like just removing the footy side, because they do have some sort of individual physical traits that help them, but every Irishman that I'm aware of that's come out and had success, they just tend to be really well put together people. And Mark's been that for us for sure.
After last, you said there's sort of 4 or 5 guys possibly coming in. Any clues on who's going out?
Well, O'Sheen's one because he's just had a little bit of an adductor issue over the break. But even without that, we'd be starting to think that this is around about the time where we might hold him back. So the bye week off and then an extra week, seemed logical anyway. And he just had this little bit of an adductor issue that, some players could play through, but, we're not going to do that with O'Sheen, given, we want to think long term with him, but also his workloads, because he's such a physical player, great speed, power, mechanical work, his loads have been through the roof, so it just seemed logical for us to hold him back a little bit. The others I'll wait and see. We'll probably take a few extras over to Adelaide and just sort of think through exactly how we're going to do that tomorrow night.